The black waitress ran to the elevator hiding a secret worth killing for, and found the Mafia Boss already waiting when the doors opened. "I know what you took, Zara." His voice was like velvet wrapped around steel as he blocked her exit from the elevator. Dante Romano, the most dangerous man in Chicago, stood between her and escape, his dark eyes never leaving the flash drive clutched in her trembling hand. "Please," she whispered, backing against the mirrored wall. "My daughter, she's only 6. She needs me." Something shifted in his expression. Not softness exactly, but calculation. "Then perhaps you should have considered her before stealing from me." The elevator doors closed with a soft chime, sealing her fate. You know that feeling when your heart's beating so hard it might crack your ribs? When your entire future narrows down to one terrifying moment. That's where Zara found herself, trapped with a man who could erase her existence with a single phone call. But what if I told you the most dangerous man in the city became her greatest protector? What if the secret she discovered was worth killing for, but not for the reasons she thought? If you've ever felt cornered by life with no way out, only to find strength in the most unexpected place, this story will shake you to your core. If you believe in second chances and the fierce protection that can bloom from the darkest circumstances, drop "I stand with Zara" in the comments. Let's make sure her voice, and the voices of all those who've faced impossible choices, rings out loud and clear. Stay with me until the very end to see how a woman with nothing to lose changed the heart of a man who'd forgotten he had one. Zara Mitchell had been on her feet for 12 hours straight. Her back ached, her ankles were swollen, and the smile she'd plastered on her face for the dinner rush at Inferno felt like it might crack her cheeks. But the tips had been good tonight. Good enough that maybe, just maybe, she could finally get Lily those light-up sneakers all the kids at school were wearing. "Last table's closing out," Marco the bartender called over as he polished glasses. "Mr. Romano left you something extra." Zara nodded, trying not to let her exhaustion show. Inferno wasn't just any upscale restaurant on Chicago's Gold Coast. It was the crown jewel of the Romano family's legitimate businesses, the perfect front for whatever else they were involved in. Not that anyone talked about that. Not if they wanted to keep their jobs. Or their kneecaps. She'd been working here for 8 months, ever since getting laid off from the accounting firm downtown. Single mom, no family support, an apartment in a neighborhood where gunshots were as common as car alarms. Zara couldn't afford to be picky. The pay was good, the hours worked around Lily's school schedule, and the clientele, dangerous as some might be, treated her with more respect than the suits at her old firm ever had. "You heading out the back?" Marco asked, eyeing the clock. "It's late. Want me to call you a ride?" "I'm good. Bus stop's right there." Zara gathered her purse from beneath the bar, checking her phone. Mrs. Jenkins from next door had texted that Lily was sound asleep. Thank God for neighbors who didn't mind the occasional overnight babysitting gig. That's when she saw it, the small leather portfolio left behind at table 7. Mr. Romano's table. "Marco, did Mr. Romano forget this?" She held up the portfolio. Marco glanced over, his expression changing so quickly Zara almost missed it. "Just leave it. Someone will get it tomorrow." But something in his tone made her uneasy. Marco never sounded nervous. And he was definitely nervous now. "I'll just put it in the office safe," she said, heading toward the back. "Zara, don't." But she was already pushing through the swinging doors into the darkened office hallway. The restaurant was emptying out, just a few lingering staff and the kitchen crew finishing cleanup. No one paid her any mind as she slipped into the small office where Mr. Salvatore, the manager, kept the safe for valuables left behind. The portfolio felt heavy in her hands. Expensive leather, embossed with the Romano family crest. A lion with a crown. She shouldn't open it. She knew she shouldn't. But Zara had always had a problem with curiosity. Her grandmother used to say it would be the death of her one day. Inside was a flash drive and a single sheet of paper with columns of numbers. Her accounting brain kicked in immediately. These weren't restaurant figures. The amounts were too large, the notations too cryptic. But she recognized money laundering when she saw it. 5 years at Johnson & Pierce hadn't been for nothing. And there, at the bottom of the page, was a name that made her blood run cold. Vasquez. Everyone in Chicago knew about the war between the Romano and Vasquez families. It had been simmering for years, occasionally erupting in violence that made the evening news before disappearing behind closed doors and paid-off officials. This wasn't just account ledgers. This was evidence. The sound of voices in the hallway jolted her back to reality. Without thinking, Zara slipped the flash drive into her pocket, returned the paper to the portfolio and locked it in the safe. She'd return the drive tomorrow. No one would know. Except someone did know. As she hurried toward the employee exit, her phone buzzed with a text from a number she didn't recognize. The drive. No. Or your daughter won't make it to morning. Zara's world tilted sideways. They knew about Lily. They knew where she lived. She ran. Out the back door, down the alley, across the street to the towering office building where she knew there would be security cameras, witnesses, safety in numbers even at this late hour. The night doorman barely glanced up as she rushed past, heading straight for the elevator bank. Hold the door, she called, seeing one about to close. The man inside obliged, his hand shooting out to stop the doors. It was only as she stumbled in, breathless and terrified, that she realized her mistake. Dante Romano stood before her, his 6'3" frame filling the small space, dark suit impeccable despite the late hour. His eyes, nearly black in the elevator's harsh lighting, fixed on her with predatory focus. "Ms. Mitchell," he said, her name rolling off his tongue like he'd been saying it for years. "I believe you have something that belongs to me." The elevator doors closed behind her with a soft, damning click. Zara pressed herself against the wall, clutching her purse like a shield. "Mr. Romano, Save it." He reached past her to press the button for the penthouse, his cologne, something expensive and subtle, briefly enveloping her. "You took something from my table. I want it back." "Someone threatened my daughter," she blurted out, surprising herself with her honesty. "They texted me. They know where she is." Something dangerous flashed across his face. "Show me." With trembling fingers, Zara pulled out her phone, showing him the text. Dante took the phone, studying it for a long moment before handing it back. "This isn't from me," he said quietly. "Or any of my people." "Then who?" The elevator lurched suddenly, lights flickering before plunging them into darkness. Zara gasped, reaching blindly for the wall to steady herself. A strong hand gripped her arm, pulling her away from the doors. "Don't move," Dante ordered, his voice low and urgent. "This isn't a malfunction." The emergency lights kicked on, bathing them in an eerie red glow. Dante had positioned himself between her and the doors, one hand inside his jacket where Zara was certain he kept a gun. "What's happening?" she whispered. "Someone wants what you took more than I do." His eyes met hers, hard and assessing. "And they're willing to kill us both to get it." The elevator jerked again, then began a slow descent. Dante pulled out his phone, cursed under his breath when he saw there was no signal, then tucked it away. "Listen carefully," he said, his voice so low Zara had to strain to hear it. "When those doors open, stay behind me. If I tell you to run, you run. Don't look back, don't hesitate." "But my daughter." "I'll have someone at your apartment in 10 minutes. What's your address?" Zara hesitated, weighing her options. Trust the devil she knew or face whatever waited when those doors opened. "Parkside Apartments on West Monroe. Unit 4C. Mrs. Jenkins next door has her." Dante nodded once, already typing something into his watch. Apparently his backup communication method. "Done." The elevator slowed, stopping somewhere between floors. The digital display was dark, giving them no clue where they were. "Give me the drive," Dante said, holding out his hand. Zara reached into her pocket, fingers closing around the small device that had somehow become her death warrant. "What's on it?" "Nothing that concerns you." "It concerns me if it gets my daughter killed," she shot back, surprising herself with her boldness. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Fair enough. It's evidence. Names, dates, accounts. Enough to put certain people away for a very long time." "Including you?" "Including people who would hurt a child to get what they want." His eyes held hers. "I have many sins, Ms. Mitchell, but threatening children isn't among them." Before she could respond, the elevator doors began to open. Dante immediately pushed her behind him, his body a shield between her and whatever waited outside. The hallway was empty, dimly lit by emergency lighting. Not the lobby, Zara realized. They were somewhere in the building's middle floors, office space deserted at this hour. "Stay close," Dante murmured, stepping cautiously into the hallway. "Emergency stairs are this way." They moved silently through the darkened space, past cubicles and conference rooms frozen in time, coffee mugs left on desks, chairs pushed back as if their occupants had just stepped away. The entire floor felt like a ghost town. Why would they bring us here? Zara whispered. Isolation. No witnesses. Dante's hand moved to the small of her back, guiding her around a corner. The Vasquez family isn't known for subtlety. Vasquez? The same ones from the ledger you saw? Yes. He paused at an intersection of hallways, checking both directions. They've been trying to get their hands on that drive for weeks. My guess is they have someone inside my organization. The sound of a door opening somewhere behind them had Dante pulling her into a darkened office, his hand covering her mouth to stifle her gasp. They stood perfectly still, her back pressed against his chest, his breath warm against her hair as footsteps approached. Check every room, a man's voice ordered. Romano's not leaving this building alive. The girl either. Zara's heart hammered so loudly she was certain they'd hear it. Dante's arm tightened around her waist, a silent command to remain still. The footsteps moved closer, pausing just outside their hiding place. The door handle turned slowly. In one fluid motion, Dante spun her behind a filing cabinet, drew his weapon and met the intruder head-on. There was a brief struggle, a grunt, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor, then silence. Clear, Dante called softly. Zara peered around the cabinet to see a man unconscious at Dante's feet. Not dead, she noted with relief, just out cold. We need to move. There will be more. Dante checked the man's pockets, removing a phone and a set of keys. Fire stairs 2 doors down. Ready? She nodded, though ready was the last thing she felt. They made it to the stairwell without encountering anyone else. 4 flights down, Dante held up his hand, signaling her to stop. Voices echoed from below, growing louder. Change of plans, he whispered, guiding her back through the door onto another office floor. My car's in the underground garage. We need another way out. Service elevator, Zara said suddenly. When I worked late at my old firm, the cleaning crew always used a separate elevator in the back. Dante looked at her with newfound appreciation. Lead the way. They navigated through the maze of cubicles, Zara drawing on memories of the building's layout from her accounting days. The service elevator was exactly where she remembered, tucked away in a back corridor near the supply closets. It should go straight to the loading dock, she explained as Dante pried the doors open manually. From there we can reach the street. The elevator car was waiting as if someone had sent it up and abandoned it. Dante checked inside, then motioned her forward. Ladies first. Such a gentleman, she muttered, earning another almost smile. This elevator was larger, designed for freight and maintenance equipment. The ride down was agonizingly slow, each floor passing with a faint ding that seemed impossibly loud in the silence. Why are you helping me? Zara finally asked. You could have just taken the drive and left me. Dante studied her for a long moment. You have a child waiting for you. And contrary to what you might believe, I don't make a habit of leaving innocent people to die. I'm not innocent. I stole from you. You made a mistake. One that I might have made in your position. His expression softened fractionally. Fear for one's child makes people do desperate things. The elevator reached the loading dock level with a final ding. Dante positioned himself in front of the doors again, gun ready. The loading area was deserted except for a few pallets and a forklift parked haphazardly near the large bay doors. Outside, rain had started to fall, slicking the pavement with reflective puddles that mirrored the streetlights. Buy cars around the corner, Dante said, guiding her toward a side exit. Stay in the shadows. They slipped out into the rain, keeping close to the building. Zara was soaked within seconds, her thin waitress uniform offering little protection against the downpour. Dante shrugged out of his suit jacket, draping it over her shoulders without breaking stride. The unexpected kindness caught her off guard. Thank you. He nodded once, scanning the street before leading her toward a sleek black Audi parked in a no-standing zone. Of course a man like Dante Romano wouldn't worry about parking tickets. A movement across the street caught Zara's eye. A figure emerging from between parked cars, something metallic glinting in the streetlight. Dante, she cried, the use of his first name surprising them both. He reacted instantly, shoving her down behind a parked SUV as gunshots shattered the night. Glass rained down around them as bullets struck nearby vehicles. "Stay down," he ordered, returning fire with controlled precision. More shots, more breaking glass. Zara covered her head, praying that Lily was safe, that Dante's people had reached her in time. Then silence, broken only by the sound of running footsteps fading into the distance. "Are you hit?" Dante was suddenly beside her, his hands moving over her arms, checking for injuries. "No, I'm fine." She was shaking, she realized, teeth chattering from cold and fear. "Did you?" "Winged him. He won't get far." Dante helped her to her feet, keeping low as he guided her to his car. "We need to move. That gunfire will bring police." The Audi's interior was warm and smelled of leather. Dante started the engine and pulled away from the curb with smooth efficiency, navigating the late-night streets like someone who knew every back alley and side street in the city. "My daughter," Zara said, the momentary relief of escape giving way to renewed panic. "I need to know she's safe." Dante handed her his phone. "Call this number. Ask for Vincent. He's my head of security." Her fingers trembled as she dialed. A man answered on the first ring. "It's Dante's phone," she explained. "He said to ask for Vincent." "Speaking." The voice was gruff but professional. "I'm Zara Mitchell. My daughter." Secure and en route to the safe house with her neighbor. Mrs. Jenkins insisted on coming along. Feisty lady. Relief made her dizzy. "Can I talk to Lily?" "She's sleeping." Mrs. Jenkins gave her the stuffed rabbit from her bed and she conked right out in the car. "We'll be at the location in 20 minutes. "Thank you," Zara whispered, ending the call. She looked over at Dante, who was focused on the road, his profile sharp in the passing streetlights. "Why are you doing all this?" He was quiet for so long she thought he might not answer. "Because someone in my organization betrayed me," he finally said. "And they put a child in danger to do it. That crosses a line I won't tolerate." "Even for a crime boss there are lines?" His mouth quirked. "Especially for a crime boss. Without a code we're just animals." Zara studied him, seeing beyond the dangerous exterior for the first time. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they won't think to look." He glanced at her, his dark eyes unreadable. "I'm taking you home." Home turned out to be a penthouse apartment in a high-rise overlooking Lake Michigan. The building's security was discreet but thorough. A doorman who greeted Dante by name, a private elevator that required both a key card and fingerprint scan, and cameras covering every angle of approach. "Your daughter and Mrs. Jenkins will meet us here," Dante explained as they rode up to the top floor. "It's the most secure location I have." The elevator opened directly into the penthouse foyer. Zara stepped out, momentarily forgetting her fear as she took in her surroundings. The space was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing the glittering city and dark lake beyond, minimalist furniture in shades of gray and blue, artwork that even her untrained eye could tell was museum quality. Not what she'd expected from a mafia boss. No gold fixtures, no gaudy displays of wealth. Just elegant, understated luxury. "You seem surprised," Dante noted, watching her reaction. "I expected more. I don't know. Scarface." He actually laughed at that. A warm, genuine sound that transformed his face. "Sorry to disappoint. My mother was an interior designer. Some lessons stick." The mention of his mother humanized him in a way that made Zara uncomfortable. It was easier to think of him as Dante Romano, dangerous crime lord, than as someone with a mother who taught him about tasteful decor. "The guest rooms are this way," he continued, leading her down a hallway. "You'll find everything you need. Clothes might be a bit large, but they're clean and dry." The guest suite was bigger than her entire apartment, with a bathroom that made her want to weep with longing. A massive shower, soaking tub, heated floors, luxury she hadn't experienced since, well, ever. "Take your time," Dante said from the doorway. "Your daughter should be here in about 15 minutes. There's a security team bringing them up the service elevator to avoid attention." "Thank you," Zara said, the words inadequate for what he'd done. "For Lily." "For not," she gestured vaguely. "You know. Having you killed?" His expression was unreadable again. "The night's still young, Ms. Mitchell." With that ominous statement hanging in the air, he closed the door, leaving her alone. Zara took the fastest shower of her life, unwilling to be caught vulnerable if this was all some elaborate trap. The closet yielded sweatpants and a t-shirt that swallowed her frame but felt heavenly after her rain-soaked uniform. She was just finger-combing her damp curls when a soft knock came at the door. "Mommy." Lily's voice, sleepy but unmistakable. Zara yanked the door open and dropped to her knees, gathering her daughter into a fierce hug. Lily was warm and solid in her frozen pajamas, clutching her well-loved stuffed rabbit. "Hey baby," Zara whispered, breathing in the familiar scent of her daughter's strawberry shampoo. "I missed you." "Mrs. Jenkins said we're having an adventure," Lily mumbled against her shoulder. "In a castle in the sky." Zara looked up to see Mrs. Jenkins standing in the hallway, her gray hair in a hasty bun, wearing what appeared to be a man's dress shirt over her own pajama pants. "They were very polite," the older woman said, answering Zara's unasked question. "Explained there was a security concern and we needed to relocate temporarily. I've seen enough crime shows to read between the lines." She lowered her voice. "Is that really Dante Romano?" "The Dante Romano." Zara nodded, standing with Lily in her arms. "It's complicated. I'll bet." Mrs. Jenkins glanced around appreciatively. "Nice digs though. The young man who escorted us, Vincent, said there's another guest suite for me. Think I'll turn in. Been enough excitement for one night." She patted Zara's arm. "We'll talk in the morning, dear." After settling Lily in the enormous bed, Zara sat beside her, stroking her daughter's forehead until her breathing deepened into sleep. Only then did she allow herself to really think about the situation. She was in Dante Romano's penthouse, with evidence that could destroy his family, or the rival Vasquez family. People had tried to kill them both tonight. And for some reason, instead of eliminating the problem, he was protecting her and her daughter. None of it made sense. A soft tap at the door pulled her from her thoughts. Dante stood in the hallway, his white dress shirt rolled up at the sleeves, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. "She's settled?" he asked, nodding toward the bedroom. "Out like a light. She can sleep through anything." "Good. We need to talk." He gestured toward the living room. "Drink." "I shouldn't. You've been shot at, nearly killed in an elevator, and your daughter was threatened. If ever there was a time for a drink, it's now." Put that way, she couldn't argue. Zara followed him to the living room, accepting the glass he poured her. The whiskey burned pleasantly, going down, warming her from the inside. "The flash drive," Dante said, settling into an armchair across from her. "I need to know exactly how you found it and who saw you take it." Zara explained about the portfolio left at his table, Marco's reaction, her curiosity getting the better of her. "I only saw the first page of the ledger. Just enough to recognize what it was. And the text. When exactly did it come through?" "Right after I put the portfolio in the safe. I was heading out the back door." Dante's expression darkened. "So whoever sent it was watching you. Inside Inferno. One of your people? That's what we need to find out." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "The drive contains evidence of the Vasquez family's operations. Money laundering, human trafficking, gun running. Everything needed to take them down permanently." "Why would you have that?" "Because I've been working with the FBI for the past 18 months to bring them down." Zara nearly choked on her whiskey. "You're, what?" "A confidential informant. Though that term hardly covers the scope of the arrangement." He smiled thinly. "The Vasquez family crossed certain lines. Children involved in their trafficking operation. I don't abide that." "So you're, what? A good guy?" "Hardly. But even in my world there are rules. Lines that shouldn't be crossed." He studied her over the rim of his glass. "The Romanos have been in Chicago for 4 generations. We're part of this city's fabric. The Vasquez family moved in 5 years ago, started taking over territory, bringing in drugs and girls from across the border. And you couldn't have that competition," Zara said, understanding. "It wasn't about competition. It was about methods. My family has never dealt in human trafficking. Never will." His voice hardened. "Especially not children." Zara thought of Lily sleeping peacefully in the next room and felt a chill. "So this drive is the culmination of 18 months of careful work. Names, dates, bank accounts, shipping manifest. Everything the FBI needs to dismantle their entire operation. And someone in your organization is working for them. Trying to stop you." Exactly. Dante set down his glass. Which brings us to you, Ms. Mitchell. The waitress who accidentally stumbled into the middle of a war. Zara straightened her spine. What happens now? How we use you? Excuse me. Whoever sent that text doesn't know you're with me. They think you're running scared, alone with evidence that could destroy them. His eyes gleamed with something dangerous. We're going to let them think that a little longer. Draw them out. Using me as bait. It wasn't a question. Using you as a partner. He leaned forward again. I protect what's mine, Ms. Mitchell. Right now that includes you and your daughter. I'm not yours. You are until this is over. There was no threat in his voice, just simple statement of fact. The alternative is I turn you over to the FBI for witness protection. New identities, new city, new life. Never coming back to Chicago. Zara thought of their tiny apartment, Lily's school, the life they'd built. Imperfect, struggling, but theirs. That's not much of a choice. It's the only one I can offer that keeps you both alive. She took another sip of whiskey, buying time to think. What exactly would I have to do? Make a phone call. Let it be known you're willing to sell what you found to the highest bidder. Then meet with whoever responds. While wearing a wire. While under my personal protection, he corrected. No wires. No FBI. Just you, me, and whoever has been betraying my family. And after it's over? Assuming I survive. Dante's expression softened slightly. After it's over, you and your daughter go back to your lives. With certain improvements. What kind of improvements? A better apartment in a safer neighborhood. A college fund for Lily. A job that uses your accounting skills instead of your ability to carry plates. Sounded too good to be true. And what do you get out of this arrangement? I find the traitor in my organization. The FBI gets their evidence. The Vasquez family goes down. He shrugged. Everyone wins. Except whoever tried to kill us tonight. Yes. His smile was cold. Except them. Zara thought of Lily, of the life she deserved. Safe, secure, with opportunities Zara had never had. Then she thought of the gun pointed at them earlier, how close they'd come to death. I'll do it, she said finally. But I have conditions. Dante raised an eyebrow, looking amused. You're negotiating with me? My daughter stays somewhere safe. Not here, not anywhere connected to you or this situation. With people I trust. Done. I have a house in Lake Forest. Gated community, private security. Mrs. Jenkins can stay with her. And I want your word that when this is over we walk away clean. No loose ends, no one coming after us later. You have my word. He held her gaze steadily. And contrary to popular belief, that still means something in my family. Zara nodded slowly. Then we have a deal. Good. Dante stood, towering over her. Get some rest. Tomorrow we set the trap. As he turned to leave, Zara called after him. Mr. Romano? He paused, looking back. Thank you. For saving us tonight. Something unreadable flickered across his face. Don't thank me yet, Ms. Mitchell. The hard part is still to come. Morning brought a strange sense of normalcy. Zara woke to find Lily already up, sitting cross-legged on the massive bed watching cartoons on a TV that seemed to have materialized overnight. Mrs. Jenkins was in the kitchen with Vincent, the security chief, discussing the merits of various pancake recipes as if they were old friends. Your Mr. Romano left early, Mrs. Jenkins informed her, sliding a cup of coffee across the counter. Said to tell you he'd be back by noon to discuss arrangements. He's not my Mr. Romano, Zara muttered, accepting the coffee gratefully. Mrs. Jenkins raised an eyebrow but said nothing, turning back to her pancake batter. Vincent, a solidly built man in his 40s with salt and pepper hair and watchful eyes, cleared his throat. There are clothes for you and your daughter in the guest rooms. Mr. Romano had them delivered this morning. Sure enough, Zara found shopping bags from Nordstrom and Macy's in her room. Jeans, tops, even underwear and shoes, all in her size. Lily's room held similar bounty, including a stuffed penguin that immediately became her daughter's new best friend. The thoughtfulness of it was unsettling. Dangerous men weren't supposed to remember children needed comfort items or that women preferred certain brands of toiletries. By 11, Zara had showered, dressed, and helped Mrs. Jenkins pack for their stay in Lake Forest. Vincent had explained the security arrangements. A team of 4 would accompany them, The house was equipped with state-of-the-art systems, and no one outside Dante's inner circle knew of its existence. "Mommy, are you coming with us?" Lily asked as Zara zipped up her little backpack. Zara knelt down, smoothing her daughter's braids. "Not right away, baby. Mommy has to help Mr. Romano with something important first. But I'll come as soon as I can." "Is he your boyfriend?" Lily asked with 6-year-old directness. No, he's a friend who needs my help. He's nice. He got me Penny." She hugged the penguin tight. "And he talks to me like a grown-up, not a baby." Zara blinked in surprise. "When did you talk to him?" "This morning. He made me toast with peanut butter cut in triangles just how I like it." Lily tilted her head. "He said his mom used to make it that way for him." The image of Dante Romano, feared Mafia Boss, making peanut butter toast for her daughter was almost too bizarre to process. Before she could respond, the penthouse elevator chimed, announcing his return. Dante stepped into the living room looking nothing like the man who'd rescued her last night. Gone was the elegant suit, replaced by dark jeans, a gray Henley and a leather jacket. His hair was slightly tousled, his jaw shadowed with stubble. He looked dangerous in an entirely different way, less businessman, more enforcer. "Everything set?" he asked Vincent, who nodded. "Cars downstairs for Mrs. Jenkins and the little one. Teams in place at the Lake Forest house." "Good." Dante turned to Zara. "We need to talk before they leave." In his office, a sleek space with more stunning views and a desk that probably cost more than her car, Dante laid out the plan. "You'll call this number," he said, sliding a piece of paper across to her. "It's a burner phone connected to Marco, my bartender." "Marco? He's the traitor." "He's working for someone else, yes. The question is who?" Dante's expression was grim. "You'll tell him you still have the drive and want to make a deal. Suggest meeting at the River Walk near the Michigan Avenue Bridge. Public enough to feel safe, private enough for a transaction. What if he wants the drive first? You'll have a duplicate. But the meeting isn't about the exchange, it's about identifying who he's working for." Dante leaned forward. "The Vasquez family doesn't make moves without authorization from the top. Someone high-ranking is pulling Marco's strings. And you think they'll show up themselves? Isn't that risky? For evidence this valuable?" "Yes." His confidence was absolute. "Especially when they think you're just a scared waitress in over her head." The plan was simple in theory. Zara would meet Marco pretending to be willing to sell the drive. Dante and his men would be positioned nearby, watching for whoever was really in charge. Once identified, they'd move in. "What about the FBI?" Zara asked. "Shouldn't they be involved if this is about taking down the Vasquez family?" "The FBI doesn't know the drive was stolen," Dante admitted. "And I'd prefer to keep it that way until we recover it. My arrangement with them is complicated. Meaning illegal. Meaning necessary." His eyes hardened. "The Vasquez family has people inside law enforcement. That's how they've operated with impunity for so long. The fewer people who know about this, the better." It made a twisted kind of sense, though Zara wasn't entirely comfortable with the vigilante approach. Still, after last night's attempt on their lives, she wasn't inclined to trust the system either. "What about Lily? How do I know she'll be safe?" "Because I'm giving you this." Dante pulled out a phone. "Direct line to the security team. Video access to the house. Check as often as you need." The thoroughness of his planning was both reassuring and intimidating. This wasn't his first dangerous operation, clearly. After Mrs. Jenkins and Lily departed, a goodbye that nearly broke Zara's heart, Dante had her make the call to Marco. The bartender answered on the second ring, his voice wary. "It's Zara," she said, surprised at how steady she sounded. "From Inferno." "Jesus, Zara, where are you? Everyone's looking for you." "I have something that doesn't belong to me," she said, following Dante's script. "Something valuable. I want to make a deal." "Are you crazy? Do you know what you took?" "Valuable enough that someone threatened my daughter over it." Her anger wasn't feigned. "I want money, enough to disappear with Lily. Somewhere safe." Marco was quiet for a moment. "How much?" 200,000. Cash. Another pause. "When and where?" "River Walk. Michigan Avenue Bridge. 2 hours." She took a deep breath. "Come alone or no deal." "He won't come alone," Dante said after she hung up. But that's the point. 2 hours later, Zara stood at the railing overlooking the Chicago River, watching tourist boats glide by below. The October afternoon was crisp but sunny, the water reflecting the gleaming buildings that lined the riverfront. In another life, it might have been a pleasant place to spend an afternoon. Dante was somewhere nearby, though she couldn't spot him. He'd outfitted her with a small earpiece, nearly invisible beneath her curls, allowing him to communicate with her. "Remember," his voice said in her ear. "Keep him talking. We need to know who he's working for." Zara nodded slightly, knowing he could see her even if she couldn't see him. Marco appeared right on time, walking down the steps to the river walk with the cautious gait of someone expecting trouble. He was alone, visibly at least. "You shouldn't have run," he said without preamble when he reached her. "Mr. Romano is very upset." "Mr. Romano tried to have me killed last night," she countered, the lie coming easily. Marco frowned. "That wasn't Mr. Romano. That was someone else." "Who, Marco? Who's threatening my daughter?" He glanced around nervously. "You don't understand what you're involved in. This is bigger than both of us." "Then explain it to me." Zara leaned forward, letting her desperation show. "I'm a single mom who accidentally took something I shouldn't have. I just want enough money to keep my daughter safe." "You have the drive with you?" "Not until I see the money. And know who I'm really dealing with." She crossed her arms. "I'm not stupid, Marco. You're not calling the shots here." His expression darkened. "Be careful, Zara. These people threaten my 6-year-old daughter," she snapped, real anger flaring. "So forgive me if I'm not feeling particularly careful right now." 200,000 is a lot of money, a new voice said. Zara turned to see a woman approaching, tall, elegant, in her 50s perhaps, with silver-streaked dark hair and the kind of bone structure that aged beautifully. She wore a camel coat over a black pantsuit, looking more like a CO than a criminal. "Elena Vasquez," Dante's voice murmured in Zara's ear. "Matriarch of the family. Interesting." "Ms. Mitchell," Elena said, her accent subtle but present. "You've caused quite a stir." "I didn't mean to," Zara replied honestly. "I just want to be left alone. Unfortunately, what you took makes that impossible." Elena's smile didn't reach her eyes. "That drive contains sensitive information." "Information about your family's operations," Zara said, watching Elena's expression carefully. "Trafficking. Money laundering. Business," Elena corrected smoothly. "Complicated, perhaps not entirely legal, but business nonetheless." She gestured to a man who had materialized behind her, tall, muscular, with a face that suggested he enjoyed his work. "My associate has your payment. The drive, please." "How do I know you won't kill me once you have it?" "You don't," Elena admitted. "But consider this, if I wanted you dead, you wouldn't have made it to this meeting." It was cold comfort, but Zara reached into her pocket, producing the duplicate drive Dante had given her. As she held it out, Elena's associate stepped forward to take it. That's when everything happened at once. Dante's voice in her ear, "Down now." Zara dropped instinctively as men appeared from all directions. Dante's men, she realized, moving with military precision. Elena's bodyguard reached for his weapon but froze when he found himself surrounded. And then Dante was there, stepping out from behind a pillar, his own gun trained on Elena. "Hello, Elena," he said calmly. "It's been a while." Elena's composure cracked for just a moment before her mask slipped back into place. "Dante, I should have known. Using civilians as pawns now," says the woman who threatened a child. His voice was ice. "That was a mistake." "Business," she repeated. "Nothing personal." "It became personal the moment you targeted one of mine." Dante's eyes never left Elena's face. "The FBI is very interested in that drive. And in you." For the first time, fear flickered across Elena's features. "We can make a deal, Dante. There's no need for the authorities. The time for deals is over." He nodded to Vincent, who had appeared at his side. "Take her. And him." He jerked his chin toward Marco, who looked like he might faint. As Vincent and the others moved to secure Elena and her people, Dante reached down to help Zara to her feet. "Are you all right?" She nodded, adrenaline making her lightheaded. "That was intense. You did well." There was genuine admiration in his voice. Better than most professionals I know. What happens now? Now, Dante said, his hand still holding hers, we finish this. Finishing this turned out to be a complex operation involving FBI agents, evidence handovers and hours of questioning in a downtown federal building. Zara sat in a sterile interview room, telling her story for what felt like the 20th time to a series of increasingly higher-ranking officials. And you had no prior knowledge of Mr. Romano's activities? The latest agent asked, a woman with sharp eyes and an even sharper pantsuit. I was his waitress, Zara replied, fatigue making her blunt. I served his steaks and poured his wine. That's it. Until you stole evidence critical to an ongoing federal investigation. I didn't know what it was when I took it. And someone threatened my daughter because of it. Zara leaned forward. Look, I've told this story to 5 different agents now. I'm tired, I'm worried about my daughter, and I want to go home. The agent studied her for a long moment. Ms. Mitchell, do you understand the position you're in? You're involved in a major RICO case against one of the most dangerous criminal organizations in the Midwest. I understand perfectly. I also understand that without me, you wouldn't have Elena Vasquez in custody right now. Zara met the woman's gaze steadily. So unless you're charging me with something, I'd like to leave. A knock at the door interrupted whatever the agent might have said next. A man in an expensive suit entered, handing the agent a folder without a word. She scanned it, her expression shifting from annoyance to resignation. It seems you're free to go, Ms. Mitchell. She closed the folder with a snap. Mr. Romano's influence extends further than I realized. Outside the interview room, Dante waited in the hallway, looking remarkably at ease for someone in an FBI building. He'd changed back into one of his impeccable suits, all traces of the dangerous man from the Riverwalk hidden beneath Italian tailoring. Everything's handled, he said as they walked toward the exit. Elena and her top lieutenants are in custody. The evidence on the drive, combined with my testimony, ensures they won't see freedom for decades. And Marco? Cooperating fully. Turns out Elena had leverage on him. His sister lives in Mexico, vulnerable to Vasquez family connections there. He didn't have much choice. The cool evening air felt wonderful after hours in the stuffy interview rooms. A black SUV waited at the curb, Vincent at the wheel. I'd like to see my daughter now, Zara said, suddenly desperate to hold Lily, to confirm with her own eyes that she was safe. Of course. Dante opened the car door for her. Vincent will take us to Lake Forest. The drive north took them out of the city, through increasingly affluent suburbs, until they reached a gated community of sprawling estates set back from the road. Dante's house turned out to be a lakefront mansion with manicured grounds and a security setup that would make Fort Knox envious. Lily was waiting in the massive kitchen, coloring at an island bigger than Zara's entire dining area. She launched herself at her mother the moment Zara appeared. Mommy, this house has a movie theater and a pool, and Mrs. Jenkins let me have ice cream after dinner. Zara hugged her tight, breathing in her familiar scent, feeling the knot of fear she'd carried all day finally begin to loosen. Sounds like you had fun, baby. Mr. Dante said you were being a hero today. Were you? Like Wonder Woman. Zara glanced at Dante, who stood in the doorway watching them with an unreadable expression. Something like that. After Lily was tucked into bed in a room that looked like it belonged in a fairy tale, Zara found Dante on the terrace overlooking Lake Michigan. The water stretched dark and endless before them, the lights of distant boats like fallen stars. Your daughter is remarkable, he said as she joined him at the railing. Smart. Fearless. Like her mother. I'm not fearless. I was terrified today. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. He turned to face her. You showed extraordinary courage, Zara. Not many people would have done what you did. I didn't have much choice. We always have choices. You chose to protect your daughter. To trust me despite knowing who I am. To face Elena Vasquez without flinching. His voice softened. Those choices reveal character. Zara wasn't sure how to respond to the admiration in his tone. This man, this dangerous, complicated man, had saved her life, protected her child, and looked at her now like she was something precious and rare. What happens now? She asked, echoing her question from earlier. Now you go back to your life. A better one, as promised. Dante reached into his jacket, producing an envelope. The deed to a condo in Lincoln Park. Good neighborhood, excellent schools. Already furnished and ready for you and Lily to move in. Zara stared at the envelope, not reaching for it. I can't accept that. You can and you will. His tone brooked no argument. Consider it compensation for your assistance today. Or hazard pay for being shot at. It's too much. It's not nearly enough. Dante set the envelope on the table between them. There's more. A position at Romano Financial. Our legitimate investment firm. Using your accounting skills as promised. Starting salary that's double what you made at your previous firm. Why? Zara finally asked the question that had been burning in her since the night before. Why do all this for me? Dante was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the lake. When I was 10, he finally said, my father took me to a meeting with a business associate who had disappointed him. I watched as he had the man beaten, then shot. Afterward he told me, this is how Romanos handle problems. He turned back to her, his eyes reflecting something old and painful. I decided then that when I took over things would be different. That I would find another way. That doesn't mean I'm not capable of violence when necessary, you've seen that I am. But it does mean I value those who show loyalty, courage, and integrity. And you think I have those qualities? I know you do. His gaze was intense, searching. You could have sold that drive to the highest bidder. Could have run with your daughter. Instead you helped bring down people who hurt children, who traffic in human misery. Put that way it sounded almost noble. Zara wasn't sure she deserved such a generous interpretation of her actions. I was just trying to keep my daughter safe. And in doing so, you've helped keep many children safe. Dante stepped closer. The Vasquez family's trafficking operation brought dozens of minors across the border every month. Children who disappeared into a system of exploitation and abuse. That stops now because of what we did today. The weight of it settled on her shoulders. The realization that her accidental theft had led to something genuinely good. Something that mattered. So the job, the condo, that's my reward? That's your future. Dante's voice softened. A future where your daughter grows up safe, where you use your talents for something meaningful, where you never have to worry about making rent or affording her college. It sounded like a dream, the kind of security Zara had never dared hope for as a single mother struggling to make ends meet. And what do you get out of this arrangement? She asked, still wary of gifts that seemed too good to be true. An excellent accountant for my legitimate business. His mouth quirked. And perhaps in time a friend. A friend. Zara tested the word, finding it inadequate for the complex connection that had formed between them in the past 24 hours. Is that what we are? For now. Dante's eyes held hers. What we become after this, that's up to you. The implication hung in the air between them, charged with possibility. Zara thought of how he'd protected her, respected her, seen her strength when others saw only vulnerability. How he'd made peanut butter toast for her daughter and cut it into triangles. I don't know if I'm ready for whatever this is, she admitted. My life just got turned upside down. I need time. Time you have. He nodded toward the envelope. The job offer stands regardless. No strings, no expectations. Just an opportunity you've earned. Zara finally reached for the envelope, the weight of it substantial in her hands. Thank you. Not just for this but for saving us. For keeping your word. Always. The simple promise carried the weight of absolute certainty. 3 months later, Zara stood in her office at Romano Financial, reviewing quarterly reports with a focus that had earned her the respect of her colleagues. The corner office overlooked the Chicago River, the same spot where she'd faced Elena Vasquez, now visible from her window. A daily reminder of how quickly life could change. Lily was thriving in her new school, their condo felt like home, and the nightmares about that night in the elevator had finally begun to fade. Life had settled into a new normal, one with security, stability, and purpose. A knock at her door pulled her from her thoughts. Dante stood in the doorway, as imposing and elegant as ever in one of his perfectly tailored suits. Busy? He asked, though they both knew he wouldn't be turned away regardless. Just finishing up. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. What brings the boss to my humble office? Dinner, he said simply. Lily mentioned you've been working late all week. Thought you might appreciate a break. Over the past months he'd become a presence in their lives. Never pushing, never demanding, but steadily there. Dinners once a week. The occasional weekend outing with Lily. Small gestures that spoke of patience and genuine care. "I could eat," Zara admitted, closing her laptop. "Where did you have in mind?" "There's a new place on Randolph Street. Italian, of course." His smile was warm, private. "Unless you'd prefer something else?" Zara studied him. This complicated man who had saved her life, given her a future, and waited patiently for her to be ready for whatever came next. "Italian sounds perfect," she said, reaching for her coat. As they rode the elevator down to the lobby, Zara couldn't help but remember that first terrifying encounter. Trapped with a dangerous stranger, certain her life was over. Now, standing beside the same man, she felt only safety, possibility, and a growing certainty that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings led to the most extraordinary journeys. The elevator doors opened and together they stepped out into the Chicago evening. No longer predator and prey, but equals walking side by side into a future neither could have imagined that rainy night 3 months ago. "Ready?" Dante asked, offering his arm. Zara smiled, taking it. "Ready." Some secrets were worth killing for. But the best ones, the ones that transformed lives and hearts, those were worth living for. If you found yourself holding your breath during Zara's journey from terrified waitress to a woman who stood her ground against one of Chicago's most dangerous crime families, hit that like button. If you believe in second chances and the power of unexpected protection, write, "I stand with Zara" in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us sometimes our greatest strength emerges when we have nothing left to lose.